Talk to us about the strategy behind the speech and the not so hidden frustration that I know the campaign has felt that the vice president has had a hard time breaking through in this very crowded news climate. Today seemed to be different.
Yeah, today you saw a man, a president, a man that looks like a president, right? A man who's ready to lead in this moment, like you just said, Nicole. And you saw someone who's ready to listen, learn, and like I said, lead. And you saw a man who understands the issues, who understands the policies, who understands that this country needs to start talking about uprooting institutional racism. And that's what we saw from Joe Biden today, and someone who will never walk into a church or walk in front of a church and hold a Bible. He will go inside and listen to what people have to say, and someone who's not going to use Twitter as another way to show leadership. And so this is what Joe Biden wanted to do. He wanted to bring the country together in this time of pain, and also call them to action in this moment of pain. But also, we have to make sure that we're bringing forth solutions, bringing forth policies, because that's incredibly important right now. But like you said at the beginning, we wanted to show contrast. We wanted to show contrast in policies and issues, but most importantly, Nicole, in character.
I mean, in the contrast, Karine, seems like low-hanging fruit. All he has to do is not gas people. I mean, talk about what the policies are, though, Karine, because I don't think it's any secret to certainly not to you or to any viewers of this network's primary coverage, that when it looked like Joe Biden was a long shot for the Democratic nominee this year, it was African-American voters in South Carolina who fueled his rise and his a series of stunning and overwhelming victories over Bernie Sanders and everybody else. So what are those policies?
So one of the things that Vice President Joe Biden did today is he talked about the history of this country, the original sins of this country. One of them being what we did to indigenous people, because we cannot forget that, but of slavery. And the 400 years of what that has looked like, and that institutional racism, which is clearly important, and not just talk about it, but say, what are we going to do to move forward? Because this will not go away unless we move forward. And also, he understands, like, yes, the country is in pain, but so is the Black community. And we need to talk about how much pain Black families are facing. When you understand, when people can understand or at least see that these are Black bodies, someone's brother, someone's sister, someone's aunt, father, mother, who are being killed on these streets. Like, you have to understand, like, this is the fear and the pain that the Black community goes through. And so that is the conversation that we will continue to have. Those are the solutions that we're going to try to continue to have as well. Is like, what do we do? How do we really uproot this institutional racism that we see all around us, not just in the police system, but in the economy, in housing, in healthcare. I mean, one of the things that COVID-19 is showing is the racial disparities and how it's being fueled by COVID-19. And so these are the conversation that Joe Biden is going to continue to have. These are the conversation that we need to have, that he understands is critical to have. And like I said, he's going to continue to show the contrast and not divide us. Joe Biden will bring us together as a country.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.